So section 3 is connective tissue. So just by listening to the name, connective tissues are going to connect. They're going to bind. They're going to hold things together. So connective tissues bind, support, they hold joints in place, protect, store fat, produce blood cells. Your connective tissue has a large range of functions that it does. Helps repair tissue damage, that's another important one. Unlike epithelial tissues, connective tissue has a lot of extracellular, so outside of the cell, extracellular matrix or intercellular material, there's protein fibers, there's a lot of stuff that surrounds the cells. So in this tissue, you're going to find little fibers that help to connect things. Ground substance, that would be like your bone. Your bone is considered a connective tissue, and blood is considered a connective tissue. So very wide range of substances. Connective tissue can divide, and most have a good blood supply, except cartilage really doesn't. Perry, my husband, cut his ear really bad a few years ago, and there was hardly any blood at all because your ear is cartilage. So cartilage does not have a good blood supply. Therefore, it does not heal very fast. Here is just an example. This is a diagram. Probably not one of my favorites. But you can see how in connective tissue, there's more fibers that kind of float around. Fibronectin, proteoglycan, all of these are little fibers that are going to help to hold things together. I like the real pictures better than that one. Okay, blast. This will be a word you should know. Blast means build. So fibroblast means build fibers. So the fibroblast is the most common type of cell in your connective tissues. It's fixed, it doesn't move around, it's star-shaped, it produces fibers, and it's a pretty big-sized cell. So fibroblast builds fibers. Macro means big. Phage or phage means eater, basically. It's going to eat something. So a wandering macrophage is going to function as a scavenger. It's going to eat up, it's going to get rid of things, also called histiocytes. I'm more often to use the term macrophage. It's going to be a scavenger, eat up material that's dead or no longer needed, helps to defend against infection and foreign particles. By biology term, phagocytosis, which means cell eating. So it's going to get rid of and eat up and get rid of stuff that's not needed there anymore. Mast cells are large. Here again, they're fixed. Macrophages are the only ones that can move around. Usually these are located close to blood vessels, and they're going to release heparin, which is an anticoagulant. It causes blood not to clot. It's going to keep it thin. And histamine, which promotes inflammation. Antihistamine, if you have allergies. Antihistamine causes swelling to go down. Histamine actually promotes things to swell up. So if you sprain your ankle and have damage, histamines are usually released that actually allow swelling to take place, and then your macrophages can come in and eat up the stuff that's left over. These are just real pictures so you can kind of see what they look like. Fibroblast, star-shaped, large cell. Trying to get out of the way for now. Macrophage, you can see this. I do like this picture. So here's the big cell. And these are the little cells or material that it is digesting and getting rid of. So microscopes anymore are so much better. The pictures that we can see are actually, that's a very good picture. And then this is a mast cell. They're pretty ugly actually, but that's a real mast cell. So in these connective tissues, there's different types of specific fibers. Collagenous are white fibers. Collagen, if you watch anti-aging commercials, they'll talk a lot about collagen. So strong bundles of collagenous fibers, they're made up of collagen, and their strength, they hold things together. They're going to make your skin a little bit tighter, and that's why they talk about it in anti-aging. Elastic fibers are yellow, they're not going to be white, and they're made up of elastin. They're very stretchy and flexible. So the same thing happens here. As you get older, these elastic fibers don't work as well. So your guys' age, you smile and you get little creases in your eyes, and when you quit smiling, those little creases go away because your elastic fibers work very well. As you get older, like me, you get laugh lines. You smile, you have these lines, you quit smiling, and there's still some lines that still stay there because the elastic doesn't work as well. Reticular are thin. They're very thin collagenous fibers, and they're going to be a support system. Let's see. Connective tissue proper, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So categories. Loose connective tissue means more spread out. So areolar, adipose, and reticular connective tissues. Areolar are very delicate, very thin. They're scattered throughout the body. This will be, when we dissect the cats, there are little white fibers, or underneath your skin, if you skin a deer or a pheasant or anything like that, there's these little white fibers right underneath the skin. That would be areolar tissue. It's very thin, it's very delicate, and when you skin a pheasant, the skin comes off fairly easy once you get it started, because this is very delicate. It's easy to break through. The majority of the cells in areolar tissue are fibroblasts, separated by a gel-like ground substance, contains collagen and elastin. So areolar, most important, it's binding, it's thin, it's delicate, it's not very strong. And here you can see a diagram of it. The fibroblast cells are in there. There is some elastic fiber. Notice the collagen fiber is larger. But you can see under a microscope how connective tissues have lots of fibers that crisscross and make it easier to see. Adipose, another thing, aging. Adipose tissue, loose connective tissue designed to store fat. So adipose is kind of another term used for fat. Here again, it's loose connective tissue, not real strong. It's actually found in a layer underneath the skin, around your organs, around your heart. It's used for padding or protection. Everybody needs some fat. We don't want extra fat, but everybody needs some fat to protect their organs, it cushions under the skin. And when we go to the cadavers, it is interesting to see, like when they remove the skin, a thin person, this layer of fat is just found directly under your skin. And you can see there are wide ranges of adipose tissue that's found under the skin. I always tease that I have a six-pack of everybody has a six-pack of muscles. Right, mine is just hidden by some adipose tissue and you can't find it. So the cells, anytime you see the word cytes, that means cell. So adipocytes are fat cells or adipose cells. Stores energy, that is very important. That's why everybody needs a certain amount of fat. And here you can see the picture. Fat cells or adipose tissue, very, very spread out. There's not really much to be seen in them. Very spongy. Reticular connective tissue, a lot of thin collagenous fibers. Not as common. It does help to provide framework for like your spleen, your liver. They are not as common as the other two. Dense connective tissue, opposite of loose. These are very dense, very compact, a lot stronger. So densely packed collagenous fibers, very strong, but it doesn't have the good blood supply. So tendons, ligaments, your sclera, which is the white part of your eyeball, all contains dense connective tissue. Not a very good blood supply, which is why if you tear your ACL, it takes such a long time for it to heal because it doesn't have that blood supply that gets to it very well. So torn ligaments take a long time to heal. And there you can see it's a lot closer together, a lot more compact. Cartilage, another type of dense connective tissue. It's fairly rigid, supportive. It also is going to lack a lot of blood supply, so it's going to heal slowly. We talked about the ears. Chondrocytes. Chondro means cartilage. Cytes means cells. So cartilage cells lie within lacunae, which are like almost like little tunnels in the gel-like fluid. Most cartilaginous structures are enclosed with a connective tissue called perichondrium, which is vascular. Peri means outside, and chondro means cartilage. So this is found outside of cartilage. When we get to bones, we'll talk about periosteum, outside of bones. Most common is hyaline cartilage. It's white, it has a lot of fibers in it. It almost looks like just a lot of little circles. It's found at the ends of the bones, so like where your growth plates are at. Supports respiratory structures. It's found on your ribs. Embryonic development. When you were born, your cells or your bones were not fully developed. Your bones still had a lot of hyaline cartilage, which makes a person flexible and much easier for the baby to be born if it can still be flexible. So like what's that called? The soft spot. When the baby has a soft spot on its head, that is where your bones, it's still cartilage, it has not completely fused together on the skull yet. Elastic cartilage,